So, filed on September 7th at 1:55 p.m. The document is filed by Vivian Thoreen through Holland & Knight, who are the attorneys for Jaime Spears. Document is titled Jaime Spears Petition for Termination of Conservatorship of the Person and Estate of Britney Spears. So this document was leaked, or provided to CNN, TMZ, NBC, and then it ended up getting like filtered through a bunch of different media outlets. Vivian Thoreen would make a great Disney villain. I feel like maybe she's already playing that role a little bit. What's interesting though is they say they gave notice within this document, and when it hit press yesterday, Matthew Rosengart made a statement. I haven't seen it. So presumably he has now. It has now been filed. The hearing date on this petition is January 28th. My daughter's birthday. No, her due date, 2022. Who's Vivian? Vivian is the attorney that's been representing Jaime this entire time. Daddy loves you, Vivian. Yeah. So I anticipate that, similar to the request to remove and or suspend Jaime Spears that was originally set in December when it got filed by Britney Spears' attorney, Matthew Rosengart. Do you guys need a quick breakdown, bring you up to date? That's probably be helpful context. As it sits right now, Britney Spears has been in this conservatorship for 13 years. Pending, I'll pull up all of the hearings that are pending before the court, but the next court date is September 29th. Currently, on July 14th, Britney was granted the ability to hire her own attorney. She, at that point, hired a man by the name of Matthew Rosengart, who is, from all accounts, a very good litigator, has experience in this area of law, which is probate. Jaime Spears is Britney's father. He is the one who initiated the conservatorship 13 years ago. He served as conservator of the person and of the estate, meaning Britney Spears, the body, medical decisions, where she is physically, where she lives, things like that, as well as the estate. We separate those two. Did Judge Penny allow what, Steph? The advancement of the hearing date? Not that I've seen yet. So both of the person and of the estate, the money, the accounts, the corporations, the LLCs, the trusts, things like that. So he served as both conservator of the person and of the estate. There were co-conservators at different points in times of the estate, but I don't believe ever a co-conservator of the person. He was always in charge of Britney until he had health issues his story's changed a couple times, but somewhere 2018 to 2019, he stepped aside, let Jody step in. She was then appointed as temporary conservator of the person in 2019. There is a pending motion before the court to move her from temporary conservator to permanent conservator of the person. There were a number of hearings that were supposed to be held in July, but when Britney got a new attorney, a lot of those had to be pushed. In addition, once Britney's attorney got on board, and after hearing her testimony both on June 23rd and July 14th of this year, it was made very clear that Britney wanted out of this conservatorship. She thought that it had been taken too far. She didn't want a psychological evaluation to get out of it. She wants autonomy, and she wants the ability to be free, boiled down in the most simple terms. Who authorized her to hire her own counsel? It was the judge, yeah. And that's notable because 3 separate times prior to that date, she had asked to have an attorney represent her and had been told, no, you do not have the capacity to make that decision. I am going to put this on YouTube. Yep. So Rosengart comes in. She retains him somewhere around the week of July 14th. That's when she got the authorization from the court to go ahead and hire him. he does immediately, upon leaving the courthouse, speak to press and say, Jaime needs to resign. We have reports that in the courtroom, he said, Jaime needs to resign. Vivian Thoreen, I believe, responded, Jaime's not going to resign like this. There was another hearing the following week with regard to security for Jodi Montgomery being paid out of Britney Spears' estate. Given the publicity, she said she was receiving death threats. Security was recommended by the security company that provides security to Britney, that is authorized to be paid by Jaime Spears, her father. Jodi Montgomery said that it was recommended that she get security by that company, Black Box Security. So she petitioned the court to have that as an allowable expense. That hearing was held the following Monday after Britney had her own attorney, had hired Matthew Rosengart. Again, after that hearing, he said he needs to resign, he needs to step down. About a week and a half later, Matthew Rosengart files a petition to suspend, I hope I'm not getting my dates mixed up here, a petition to suspend or remove Jaime Spears. Let me go back to the LA court website so I can confirm what's in my head. Yeah, so the 14th he was appointed attorney, and yeah. Petition for suspension and removal on July 27th. Then he asked the court that next Monday if they could move the hearing date up to September. No, there's no document up yet. I'm giving a recap. Up to the September 29th hearing date when everything else is set to be heard, including the accountings for the last 2 years for Britney Spears' conservatorship, which the estate amounts to about $60 million. We don't know how much money is in the trust. So then Jaime has responded. There was another person who was recommended or requested to be appointed in Jaime's stead. But fast forward to now, we've got a pending petition to remove Jaime filed by Britney's attorney saying the basis for the removal is we don't have to determine if you did anything wrong, not one thing wrong. We solely base our request for your suspension and or removal on is your service in this position in the best interest of Britney. If not, and we have evidence stating not, then you must be removed. And Britney's attorney also said to the extent you argue that you should not be removed or suspended, you are clearly doing so in your own interest, and your attorney's fees to argue such motion should not be paid for by the estate. Jaime has responded a couple times to this. First, giving a detailed account or making detailed accusations of Britney with regard to Britney's mom, who provided evidence in support of the petition to remove Jaime Spears. He also, I want to say that there was something else that he did. It's important to note too that conservator of the person has joined in these motions with Britney's attorney. No, so it was just he called it his first response, and we've gone over that before. So you can check out those videos either on YouTube or back in the TikTok. So now, instead of what Jaime's position originally is my daughter's mental health is so bad. I've done just such a good job. I've been a, 5-star dad, really gave it my all. I don't want to put her on blast, but kind of have to put her on blast. It was me. It was always me. It was always me. I was always the one that helped her out. We were really close, and yeah, there's been some tension, but I'm the one who helped her from no money to lots of money. We're going to sidestep that whole, I signed her on to many contracts and performances to do that, but it was always me. Now it's, we think it's best to just terminate the whole thing. Now, let's go through the petition, and then we will see what Rosengart says and what TMZ says. His last filing before this was awful. Yeah, we still haven't seen the second response. Okay. So Jamie Spears, and I have wine. It's mostly just like syrup. It's like a Bellini, like a wine Bellini. James Spears, as conservator of the estate, respectfully presents his petition for termination of the conservatorship of the person and estate of Brittany Jean Spears and alleges as follows. Paragraph 1. Of course, we're going to give an introduction and we're going to tell you what an amazing guy Jamie is. He's just such a good guy. Such a good guy. As told by Jamie Spears. For 13 years, Brittany has been under a conservatorship of both the person and the estate. Ms. Spears entered into the conservatorship voluntarily in 2008. Voluntarily, Brittany Spears entered into the conservatorship voluntarily in 2008. To this day, her attorneys have never filed a petition to terminate the conservatorship. I'll read through this paragraph and then we'll break it down. The conservatorship has helped Brittany get through major life crisis, rehabilitate and advance her career, and put her finances and her affairs in order. But recently, things have changed. Brittany is now outspoken in her frustration with the level of control imposed by a conservatorship and has pleaded with the court to let her have her life back. In recent months, she has attended 2 court proceedings, has certainly made her wishes known about their conservatorship, and has asked this court directly to end the conservatorship. Sentence by sentence, shall we? Ms. Spears entered into the conservatorship voluntarily in 2008. I'd argue not. While I do think at some point in time there was a carrot dangled in her face she mentions this in the testimony, like, they told me if I just did this, it would end. So I don't know if she agreed to something at some point, but it sure as fuck wasn't in 2008. I'm fairly certain. And arguably, if you're saying that she doesn't have capacity to hire her own lawyer, how could she have capacity to enter into this? Like, you don't get to have it both ways. You don't get to have your cake and eat it too. You don't get to say, hey, I know you've tried many times to get your own attorney to get Fo out of this conservatorship. I know you want out, and I know you've tried to get your own attorney to get out. But you don't have the ability to do that. We're not going to let you do that because you can't. Also, can you sign agreeing to do this? Just for legal purposes for later. But I really don't think it was in 2008. The conservatorship has helped Ms. Spears get through a major life crisis, rehabilitate and advance her career now, and put her finances and her affairs in order. I bring some prejudice and bias to these conversations. I do. We all do. I just need to be upfront and honest with you that I do. I'm not a huge fan of men coming in and telling women, you're not doing good enough, let me do it for you. I have an issue with that. So maybe that's my bias here. But are you telling me, a major life crisis. Paparazzi were hounding her. She had postpartum depression. She had 2 kids within a relatively short period of time. Her marriage fell apart. You can call it a life crisis, or you could call it like, hey, I'm getting fucked over nonstop and the blows won't stop, so I'm kind of losing my mind here. Maybe you helped her through it. But to pretend like she had to rehabilitate and advance her career and needed you for it. Her closest aunt also died that year. Yeah, I didn't know that, but thank you. Brittany needed her dad. her dad, who had filed for bankruptcy, who, from all I can tell, was not involved in Britney's life up and until this point, had no like prior experience in the music industry. Like, yeah, y'all, if you give me a name like Britney and millions of dollars, I too will sign their name to contracts and make sure that they perform, and I'll rehabilitate their career. I mean, if you say something enough times, that doesn't make it true. You can't just keep saying, well, she was doing really bad. Okay, well, her not performing doesn't mean she was doing really bad. A lot of people can sue you. That doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. That's what he said over and over again, is she was facing lawsuits. Okay, people face lawsuits every day. That doesn't mean they need a conservator to come in. Where was her mom? You know what I will do? I will pull the declaration that her mom filed with her mom signed and was filed with the court to create this conservatorship, and we can go over that next week. Anyway, and put her finances and her affairs in order. Well, if you mean by putting her finances and affairs in order, you took all of her money, gave it to yourself as controller, and then hired the world's most fucking expensive attorneys to handle media stuff and your reputation. I don't know. Yes, compare it with the last statement against Jaime from the last filing. Yeah, where's Kanye's conservatorship? Agreed. Or there's a number of them. I agree. She needed a 3-year hiatus and to live in London or New York. Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, and selling one of her houses to you for 1/3 of the cost. There's so much. Okay. But recently things have changed. Now Miss Spears is now outspoken in her frustration of the level of control imposed by a conservatorship. So were you not at the hearing that she referenced in 2019? Were you not at the hearing that was discussed where she says, I came to the court and asked, I said this is too much, and I haven't been back since because no one listened to me? Sounds to me then like this isn't the first time she said anything. It's not like this is brand new information, if you get the Friends reference. Like, no, it's not. He's gaslighting the court and all of us. I have said in the past, litigation can be a form of professional gaslighting. Just one paragraph. You only missed one paragraph. In recent months, she has attended 2 court proceedings and certainly made her wishes known. Yeah, I agree. Is her boyfriend helping encourage her to start speaking up? I don't know. No one listened back then because it wasn't recorded. And there is a pending request before the court by USA Today requesting that they open up that remote audio access programming. I don't trust Sam, somebody says. Yeah, I'm having a hard time with that too. Paragraph 2, Miss Spears. Britney has told the court that she wants control of her life back without the safety rails of a conservatorship. She wants to be able to make decisions regarding her own medical care, deciding when, where, and how often to go to therapy. I don't remember her saying, the way he words that, it makes it sound like she wants to control this on her own. Maybe she wants to go to therapy less, whatever she wants to do, but that's not how I interpreted her statement. She wants to control the money she has made from her career and spent it without supervision or oversight. She wants to be able to get married and have a baby if she chooses. In short, she wants to live her life as she chooses without the constraints of a conservator or court proceeding. Right. Because pretend this conservatorship, which I think a lot of us don't agree with, but pretend the conservatorship was all on the up and up. It was fully necessary, needed, got her through a life crisis, 13 years ago, 12 years ago. It's my understanding from Brittany's testimony, and I could be wrong, that the restrictions were not tight, and then as she came out of that crisis, slowly unwound in an effort to rehabilitate her and give her more access. What it feels like to me from her testimony is, and from Lynn's statements, is that restrictions by the conservator were tightly wound, and then when they needed a contract, maybe in Vegas, it was unwound a little bit, and then when she didn't do what they wanted, they wound it back up, right? So this was not some en masse rehabilitation stunt. It feels very much like this was like a racehorse. Like, yeah, if we want you to come to the stable, we'll show you some carrots. But if you're on that racetrack and you're going too slow, we're gonna whip the shit out of you. And you're gonna wish when you get off the track that you would have done what we wanted you to do when you were on the track. Like, this doesn't feel like, and that all aside, a conservatorship, we're all talking about this, well, I am, from a basis that like, okay, well, this is normal, but it's not. It's not normal. I at least feel like it shouldn't be normal to have a healthy adult able to perform in the way that she has performed, placed into a conservatorship where somebody else has full control of her body, her money, her medical decisions, all of that. I feel like, yes, it will be on YouTube later. I feel like that is not what the court system is meant to do. And I think in my feelings on this are that this conservatorship has been used in a way that the law should not provide it to be used for. And pretending like we can hand over, because this isn't done, we can hand over 13 plus years of somebody's life and just go, well, you had a mental health issue. You had a mental health issue, you know? And I've done this in the past. There's a number of you here. I'll do it again. Please drop a hand emoji if you felt like you had maybe a little bit of a mental health issue, and using that word vaguely, in the last, I don't know, 18 months, given, I don't know, the crazy pandemic that we've had. I mean, just like depression, anxiety, I mean, the amount of crap that we've gone through, people who already had mental health issues were in this last 18 months, but people who never had them before. You start adding in postpartum depression. I mean, if we granted the ability to do this for Brittany, we could grant the ability for husbands to do this for wives who suffer from postpartum depression every day. And then I know that we all use the Handmaid's Tale as like a colloquial term, but if you give this power to husbands en masse, you're living in the Handmaid's Tale. You are handing over property as a woman, as property, and allowing a man to, well, she's not good today. Not today. Honey, I need you to go to work. I need you to go to work to make money for the family. But no, you can't make that medical decision. Chattel. Yeah. So, get off of my soapbox and I will continue reading. Paragraph 3. As Mr. Spears has said again and again, can you guys guess where this is going? All he wants is what's best for his daughter. That's it. See the dog's standing over there. She has to learn to speak up. She has to learn confidence that's been taken from her. But I don't think that I disagree. I don't know about Kevin. if Brittany wants to terminate the conservatorship and believes that she can handle her own life, Jaime believes that she should get that chance. I think the dog's falling out. Yeah. This comment and the comment about the safety rails of the conservatorship suppose that she's just going to fall off. Like, we're gonna set her up to win here. We're gonna give her the reins, let her take control, but we'll be here when she falls on the ground because that's what we do. We're just ready for it. We're just ready for it. You know, it's gonna happen. Which it doesn't sound like she's ever truly been given, one, the chance to make decisions for herself, and two, if she falls, that's her life. She gets to fall. We all get to fall. We get the pleasure of freedom and autonomy and the very basic human right of choosing whether to go left or to go right. I did that backwards. We get to choose who we love, who we spend time with generally in the free world. All of those are choices. And if I fuck up and I drive my car off a cliff, that doesn't mean I get put into a conservatorship. It's not how it works. That's not what these are meant for. If I drive my car off a cliff, a la Tom Girardi, and I still choose to go into work the next day and handle my cases, that's because I can. That doesn't mean like, oh, I'm going to put you in a conservatorship and I'm going to employ you in your own law firm and now you're going to work for me. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to take a portion of that money. I'm going to pay attorneys so I make sure that I keep my position. And I'm going to take a salary, of course, because I'm doing all of this work for you. For you. Did you guys hear that? The dog just up and tooted. Okay. Ms. Spears recently testified that she did not know, at least in the past, that she could petition to end the conservatorship without submitting to a full psychological evaluation. Given Brittany's testimony, Jaime does not know why a petition to terminate the conservatorship hasn't been filed. Yeah, my dogs get on the counters and stuff. It is what it is. And I'm going to choose to focus on you and not them. They'll get their time later. Why, oh why, haven't we filed that petition to end the conservatorship? God, I feel like there's oh, that's right, because we're trying to investigate all the shit you did. That's right. God, I knew there was a reason somewhere. Jaime, however, has heard his daughter, as opposed to Rosengart. And she is now pleading for the court to end the conservatorship. Jaime believes that Brittany is entitled to have this court now seriously consider whether this conservatorship is no longer required. Understand those words. Jaime believes that Brittany is entitled to have this court consider whether the conservatorship is no longer required. I'm gonna let the dogs out. Come on. The reason that's important, sorry, my family's out. That's why I was able to do this. Yeah, I saw the TMZ stuff. We'll get to that in a minute. The reason that's important is because he's not actually, what he's titling this document is Petition to Terminate. We want you to terminate the conservatorship. But what he's saying is, Your Honor, you look at the facts and circumstances and you tell me what you want to do. Because if this was actually a request to terminate, it would say, we request the court terminate the conservatorship, not consider whether or not that's the right thing to do. So he isn't asking for it. He's considering it an option if the court says correct. Correct. Okay. Paragraph 4, heading, Ms. Spears has pleaded with this court to end her conservatorship. On June 23rd, 2021, Ms. Spears made an impassioned plea to this court to end her conservatorship. She explained that she had been told she could not end her conservatorship without going through another psychological evaluation, something she simply could not face, and that she did not know that she could file a petition to end it. She then told the court, "I just want my life back, and it's been 13 years and it's enough. It's been a long time since I've owned my own money. And it's my wish and my dream for all of this to end without being tested." The main reason why I'm here is because I want to end the conservatorship without having to be evaluated. She said it over and over. I want to end the conservatorship without being evaluated. My requests are just to end the conservatorship without being evaluated. I want to petition basically to end the conservatorship. Freaking bipolar dog. This is what happens when I do this. The family home, I think, is hungry. Okay. Something also to know if you're new in this, or if you don't have the background that some people have in watching this since, for a year or two, or since June even. What's interesting about this is each player that's not Brittany is getting paid to play. And that, I don't mean that in a bad way, but Jaime's getting a salary. His attorneys are making quite a bit of money, and they've got a guaranteed source of income. They can bill their client quite a bit of money. Brittany's managers were getting paid well. Her own attorney was making a lot of money, like $250,000 a year on one client. That's a lot of money. A lot of money. And in that situation, when everybody's objective is rehabilitation and getting you on a path to getting out of the conservatorship, but all the players are getting paid for you to stay in there, how much motivation, pretending like everybody's a good guy. They're all good guys. None of them have any malintent. They're not seeking to do this intentionally. But how much motivation do you have to get her out if you're getting paid $250 a year? Just something to be aware of. Paragraph 5, Brittany told the court that she wanted to live a normal life. I'd like for my boyfriend to be able to drive me in his car, and I want to meet with the therapist once a week, not twice a week. And I want him to come to my home because I actually know I do need a little therapy. And I would like to progressively move forward, and I want to have the real deal. I want to be able to get married and have a baby. I was told right now in the conservatorship, I'm not able to get married or have a baby. So basically this conservatorship is doing me way more harm than good. I deserve to have a life. I deserve to have the same rights as anybody does by having a child, a family, any of those things, and more so. It's heartbreaking, and what I hear in that is somebody who thought they started that, and this is not a legal thing, it's just what I hear in that is she thought she had that. She had Kevin Federline, she had 2 kids. She probably wanted to move out to, bum fuck and, go live her life for a little bit, which may be why it looked like her career was floundering, and she probably had postpartum depression, and there were a number of other things. And then her freaking husband cheated on her, and she lost it. She was pissed. If you read the New Yorker article on how all of that went down, it's heartbreaking. And she's had to watch her children grow up without her in their lives in the capacity that she'd like to be in their lives. And she probably really wants to try that again and do it the right way. Not to say that she's a bad mom, but I can imagine my heart would ache knowing all the things I missed out on. Yeah. She never had a childhood either, so like the compounding trauma, geez, yeah, stuff. I didn't know he cheated, and those are the allegations. And her lawyer can now protect her by having whomever sign a non-disclosure or prenup. Yeah, that's a good point. right. They attached transcripts for both the June 23rd and that audio, you can go here, wherever it's downloaded, the June 23rd hearing and the July 14th hearing. This court, section 3, this court has authority to end this conservatorship without ordering a psychological evaluation. Probate Code section 1867 provides a petition for termination of a conservatorship may be filed by the conservator, among others. Probate Code section 1863 provides if the court determines that the conservatorship is no longer required or that grounds for establishment of a conservatorship of the person or estate or both no longer exist, the court shall make this finding and shall enter judgment terminating the conservatorship accordingly. Shall is important. If the court determines it's no longer required or grounds for establishment no longer exist, the court shall make this finding and enter a judgment terminating the conservatorship. If either of those two things exist, the court has it's not may, you have to. Probate Code does not require that any mental or psychological evaluation of the conservatee be performed before a conservatorship is terminated. Accordingly, this court has adequate authority under the Probate Code to terminate this conservatorship if it finds that this conservatorship is no longer required or that the grounds for establishment of the conservatorship of the person and of the estate no longer exist. Yeah, I don't speak on judges. Sorry, guys. I am part of what you get with me is a practicing attorney in the state of California. It's what I come with. But in order to do that, I have to protect my clients, which means I can't be bad-mouthing judges on here and then go up here in front of them tomorrow and be like, hey, what's about my client? You know what I mean? The court should evaluate whether this conservatorship is still required given recent events and changed circumstances. What were the original grounds? Oh, good question, stuff. I don't know about the Justin Timberlake breakup. I don't know if that's when it started. I don't know. All I know is that none of us, to the extent we want to, I've seen a lot of people go, but she's crazy. Like, have you seen her Instagram posts? A lot of people have said that. And one, you get to have, and I'm probably repeating myself, but you get to have mental health issues and still exist in a world not controlled by other people. I'm not Frozen. I always do jazz hands. You get to have mental illness and have a life. Also, none of us know what was going on inside that. And it's so hard to I would have a really difficult time trying to judge what happened there because it's such a unique circumstance. If given the choice for my child to be a child star and have money for the rest of her life, or get a regular job at 18, I'm going to choose the regular job. If someone comes up to me and says, your child, or 16, your child at age 16 would be a social media sensation, have a ton of money, and be set up for the rest of her life. Or your child could just be a regular 16-year-old and work and get a job and have a normal life. I'm gonna choose a normal life for my kid if it's up to me, because child stars, the stuff that their brain goes through, the things that they're subjected to, it's not worth it to me. It's not worth it to me for my daughter. As noted above, Brittany has made it very clear to this court that she wants the conservatorship to be terminated. Brittany has also made it clear that she does not want to have to go through another psychological evaluation. But, as discussed above, the probate code doesn't require psychological evaluation as a precondition to termination. Second, after listening to Brittany's recent testimony, the court authorized Brittany to select and retain counsel of her choosing rather than appointing counsel for her. In doing so, this court has recognized that Brittany has both the capacity and capability to identify, engage, and instruct counsel of her own choice on her own without the assistance of the conservator or the court. If Brittany has the capacity and capability to engage counsel on her own, she presumably has capacity and capability to handle other contractual and business matters. In addition to being able to choose and instruct her own attorney, Brittany should be given the opportunity to hire her own business manager, financial advisor, and security to protect both her estate and her person. Third, Brittany has recently demonstrated a level of independence that calls into question whether a conservator of the person is required. It appears from public media reports that Brittany has been driving in the community on her own. Accordingly, either the current temporary conservator of the person, Jody Montgomery, has given Brittany permission to drive on her own, or Brittany has taken that right on her own. It was also made clear in her statements to the court on June 23rd that Brittany wants to control how frequently she obtains therapy and where that therapy is given. Accordingly, Brittany should be given the opportunity to hire her own doctors and manage her own medical care, including therapy. Given Brittany's impassioned pleas to this court and the clearly changed circumstances referred to above, it is in Brittany's best interest that the court consider whether this conservatorship is still required or whether the grounds for establishment of this conservatorship of the person in estate no longer exist. Here is what he is praying, my storytelling voice. Here are his prayers to the court, which is ironic. And that's the request to the court. 1, finding that all notices required by law have been properly given. I would argue maybe they weren't, but whatever. 2, determining that the conservator of the person of Brittany Jean Spears is no longer required, or that grounds for establishment of a conservatorship of the person no longer exists. Terminating the conservatorship of the person of Brittany Spears. Discharging Jody Montgomery as temporary conservator of the person upon settlement and approval of a final report account by the court. 5, determining that the conservatorship of the estate of Brittany Jean Spears is no longer required, or that grounds for establishment of the conservatorship of the estate no longer exist. 6, terminating the conservatorship of the estate of Brittany Jean Spears. 7, discharging James P. Spears as conservator of the estate upon settlement and approval of a final report account by the court, for such other and further relief as the court deems just and proper. As I'm reading through this, I need to get this off before I lose it. As I'm reading through this, what would this require? There were some background. After the June 23rd testimony provided by Brittany, her father sought an evidentiary hearing to look into the allegations that she made. And in response to that, a bunch of people were like, you don't get to use your daughter's conservatorship hearing to, because what he was trying to do is, hey, I'm not a bad guy. She's saying I'm a bad guy up there. You guys are letting her say I'm a bad guy, and I want a chance to prove that I'm not a bad guy. But that's not what the conservatorship is for. That's not what the conservatorship is for. So, he was put off by both Rosengart and Jody's attorneys and said, you don't get to do that. I don't know what the venue is, but it ain't here. You don't get to use your daughter's money to prove your innocence on claims that your daughter made about you. Knowing that then, is he attempting to use this as an evidentiary hearing in order to disprove claims? Because this will arguably give him some type of a hearing to determine this. The request, the petition is filed by Matthew Rosengart as it sits right now, is just whether or not Jaime alone serving as conservator of the estate is in the best interest of Brittany. That's it. That's all that's before the court on that petition. But bringing this petition allows for a much broader evidentiary hearing, which arguably would allow him to bring in way more than he would have with just Rosengard's petition. Does that make sense? I'm starting to lose. Do you see him able to avoid accountability? I don't. What type of law specializes in conservatorship laws? Probate. So September 29th, great question. Let's pull up. Let's pull up what, I should also look at the, let me see. I'm going to pull up the little secret back end door to what's going on and see if there's anything up on that. It's also publicly available though. Just to see. Nope. Okay. All right. Let's see how many future. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hearings set for September 29th, not including this one. I'm gonna have to, because they don't label them, I'm gonna have to venture a guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them are petition hearings. One of them we know is moving Jody from temporary to permanent conservator of the person. We know that Matthew Rosengart's petition is also on calendar for that date to suspend Jaime Spears. His petition to appoint Jason Rubin would be on calendar. Sons are still minors. Oh no, there's appointment hearings for those. And then accounting hearings. You said the accounting approval doesn't mean full review, right? Correct. Can this help them suspend him on the 29th? No. I think the medical team should be investigated. I mean, you can have that feeling. I don't necessarily, I mean, the medical team has been discussed so often. It's like, well, the medical team said this, well, the medical team said that, but I haven't seen one affidavit, declaration, piece of evidence signed under penalty of perjury that any doctor says anything about Brittany, which leads me to believe that either Brittany hasn't given consent or the conservator of the person hasn't given consent for that information to be publicized. I don't know that they're going to go after her sister. Okay, Heather, what is Rosengart doing right now? What is the next play? Good question. So Rosengart before him, I don't know what you want. Standing next to me feels weird. Like he's just staring at me. Probably wants food. Me too, dude. All right, he's laid down. Maybe he just wanted to be in the shot. I'll drink to that. Okay, Rosengart's, okay, that's what I needed to fill you guys in on. Rosengart's response, I've only got 20 more minutes left. Rosengart's response to this petition, after he got access to it, I assume through CNN because he hadn't yet been served with it, was, well, it sounds like somebody doesn't want to sit for a deposition under oath. So my thought also is that Jaime is attempting to get the court to say, all right, we'll end it. Just get your final accountings in. We'll end it. And then there won't be any need for discovery because suspension and or removal is moot because we're going to end it. What Rosengart's doing on the back end is participating in what we call discovery. Discovery is the exchange in its most basic form, exchange of information between parties. What does that mean? We send questions to the other side. So a question that Rosengart could send to Jaime is, were there any money spent? I'm trying to say this, I did the same thing last night. Like I'll say it super simple. Were there any money spent that were not for the benefit of Brittany's estate? What is provide the basis for the $1.3 million in expenditures for Holland and Knight in the last 8 months. Provide all reasons, provide all documents that show Brittany consented to any of the contracts that were signed on her behalf, obligating her to perform in tours or residencies. The questions in discovery are written so savagely, though. They are. How soon could Brittany be released? It's so sad that we talk about it like that, like she's in jail. I think her attorney's playing the long game here, especially after noticing now that he's conducting discovery. We know that now. Discovery is not a public, none of that would be filed publicly. We wouldn't have access to that. We shouldn't. It only gets publicly filed if, and it would probably be redacted in this situation, but it would only get publicly filed if somebody wasn't answering or there was some kind of court intervention needed. Could Jaime's lawyer drop him? I mean, theoretically, yeah, but why would that be in her best interest? Okay, then go outside and talk about it. You know what I mean? We're reaching their limit too. So if we don't see discovery, Jaime could be like, oh, I don't like this. Let's end it. Yes, exactly like this. He's getting these discovery requests through his attorney. He's looking through this and going, I don't want to have to answer all of this. I don't want to have to sit for a deposition where Rosengart's going to question me and how I've acted for the last 13 years. I don't want any of that. Could Jaime be made to turn over all money he made? We'll have to see how that all shakes out. Theoretically, he could have some monetary consequences for some of his actions if it went that way. He's running scared while being in control, yeah. If they approve the accounting, will they lose grounds for extortion? That's a very specific question. If they approve the accounting, will they lose grounds for extortion? Extortion of who? I mean, no, I think I know what you're saying. The accounting approval, I do not think bars claims with regard to the expenditures of that money. The question would be, I had to look into the bond more. The question would be whether or not the statute of limitations on those were told because she was in a conservatorship. What skincare do I use? I appreciate that question. Fenty Skincare and Obagi. Can these questions still be asked even after he's out? So the jurisdiction of this court, if this court tomorrow said terminate conservatorship, over, the jurisdiction of this court ends. Brittany's out, all are free, we're done. At that point, you would need to pick this case up in a different court. I don't know if it would still be in probate court. That's an unlikely, not just unlikely, basically impossible scenario. But you would need to have some kind of filed action in order to continue discovery. How many hours do you work a week? It depends. More than 40. Can Jaime and team then put blame on... Scotty, I am mostly a personal injury attorney in California, but I do a number of other things. Rosengart would want to be ready to file as soon as this is ended, right? Yeah, I don't think that we're going to see an end to this quickly because we don't even have the 13th accounting. No. We don't even have the 13th accounting yet. So there's another accounting that needs to be filed. The 12th accounting needs to be Let me go back to the probate notes real quick. We won't deal with, basically the TMZ, if you want to go over and read the TMZ article, Jaime's spinning this post-filing as Jaime thinks that his relationship with Brittany, while it's on the rocks, is going to improve. He'll be there when she falls again because inevitably she's going to fall again. They're spinning this. They're spinning this. Why is the accounting taking so long? So let me answer that for you. Where is the accounting notes? That's that. Security. Where's the accounting? I'm trying to pull up the accounting petition hearing. Accounting. No momento. Continue, declarations to be filed. They wanted to allow time for filing an objection to the accounting. So there's a lot of money in attorney's fees, and they were requesting further information on that. I thought that there was going to be more here. There might be in the, if I pulled up the accountings of the 12th accounting, which I do have, if you guys want me to set a live to go over those, because there was an accounting, a first amended, I think, second amended, and there are hundreds of pages. What about Lynn's mansion costs? Jaime did acknowledge that he's expended about $2 million of Brittany's money for the last 13 years for the benefit of Lynn. What's the 13th accounting? What does that mean? So accountings are required in these types of cases because you're giving control of somebody's estate, somebody's assets, somebody's money to a third party. So that third party needs to tell the court, here's an accounting of where that money went. Then the court approves it. The conservatee has an attorney who theoretically reviews it, files any objections as necessary, and then it goes to the court for approval. If the court has further questions based on the objections or needs to rule on something, they can move forward with that. So the 12th accounting was for the 12th year of the conservatorship. The 13th accounting is for the 13th year. We're now on the 13th year. Why won't this end on September 29th? Why won't Brittany's lawyer push for that? Because he wants, my opinion, he wants to keep this open so that he can potentially have claims against Jaime for misappropriation and whatever that comes with. That's my thought. Yeah, I went through the whole document, and I'll put this on YouTube. Does it benefit Jaime to stall those accountings? I mean, no, he wants to get his lawyers paid because he doesn't want to foot the bill. I don't know if he's signed a personal guarantee for any of that. It's so, his attorneys are basically him. So like in most situations, I say, I am not my client. My client has a right to have counsel in situations, and I represent my client, but I do not act for, I do not act for my client. My actions are not to be construed as actions of my client, just as my client's actions should not be construed as actions by me. Come on, Bella. Come on, Bella. But in this situation, Jaime and his attorneys are so intertwined, and the arguments that they make are so, I don't know. For this case, it feels personal. And with Rosengart doing this, Jaime will spin it as Rosengart doesn't want it to end. That's what he's basically said. Is I don't know why. For the life of me, I can't figure out why no one's filed to end it yet. What's the likelihood of Jaime getting kicked off on the 29th? I think high. If not completely kicked off, at least like a date certain. And what Jaime wants, remember, is Jaime wants his accounting to be approved or handled, settled, and any money's supposed to be spent under his watch resolved. And theoretically, I would assume his attorneys are going to push for, again, some type of hearing that's going to absolve him of any past actions. He is trying to make Brittany mistrust her lawyer. 100% I agree with that. Can Brittany get Jaime charged with abuse when she is free? She's already attempted to. She went to the sheriff's department. We don't know what happened from that, but she did make a report with the sheriff's department the day before, I think July 13th. Lou Taylor is a separate issue. I don't know. The problem is Brittany going after third parties is going to be tough because those third parties will say, the court granted the right to contract to your dad. Your dad contracted with me as you. So what are you coming to me for? Go to your dad. Sorry. Put this back in. June 22nd. Thank you. Jaime didn't ask to be removed a few years ago. He stepped down as conservator of the person. But I don't think that his income from it changed. Is there any absolution for him if they find wrongdoing later? No. How's the pool coming along? I was really excited for this pool a couple weeks ago, and I was really thinking we were on track. And then everything stalled. Tim's on it, though. Tim is on it. It's more, is there anything shady? Yeah. American Crime Story conservatorship. She can go after her dad for a number of things. There's so many possible claims here. It's hard to give them all to you in like a basket. We'll see, though. My birthday was 100% the best. I mean, it was amazing. Went to a great hotel, enjoyed ourselves, drove back without any traffic, hung out here and like had just a simple, quiet day. But the best part about it was I didn't have any guilt for not doing enough. I really speaking of mental health, I allowed myself to like enjoy the day and not shame myself for, I don't know if anybody else is like this, but I always have these like, okay, it's a birthday. It's like had a wonderful FaceTime. It's a birthday. You have to do something like, it just happens once a year. You better make it good. And then you're like, okay, what am I going to do to make it good? And then it like comes, it's like, well, was that good enough? This is all in my head. All in my head. You're going to drop that skincare routine after Brittany is free. It's on my page. If you scroll all the way back, I need to do an updated one. Will she be able to recover any of her money? That depends on if there's any money to recover. We'll see. So, Real Housewives is on tonight. I'm gonna watch Beverly Hills. The Real Housewives. Shaw is the mainstay of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, but the Jen Shaw trailer also dropped recently. That will be like, if we're forecasting our next season here, that is going to be included. Yes, we can. Here's what I'll do. I'll pop off here. I just don't want to keep any of the Britney Spears people unnecessarily. So if you want, I'll pop back on live for 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to end this though, so I don't have to edit it later. For anybody who wants to talk, screw it. If you guys want to talk about Rachel Hollis, we could just do it here and then but anybody who's done not wanting to talk about Rachel Hollis, the Britney Spears discussion has now ended.